Hey guys, what is up? Redmaster here, and yeah, we're back. Sorry, I've had a bit of a delay on the making of content, but with the amount of work that's been piling on recently, and the fact that this cold is finally starting to let up, I think I should really get back in the process of making videos. Anyway, we got a couple of things for you, or I got a couple of things for you over this week, including a 3K deck video, some TV commentary, some match gameplay. Got all these things, but first we're going to take you into some news. So this video is going to be dedicated to a bit of news here, kind of discussing my thoughts on the patch that was actually launched just a few hours ago. Of course, I'm talking about the April balance patch. It's like there's about 5 changes in total, but I think this is a very important subject to touch on. Of course, the game as a whole was starting to get a little interesting, a little bit of, how should I say, I don't want to say stale, but, oh shit, screen went out. Gotta love when it does that. Anyway, I don't want to say the game was getting a bit stale, but it was sort of in the sense that we were approaching a darker road. Of course, with the AoE patch that I didn't really decide to cover because a lot of shit was thrown onto that. Because I didn't really, you know, with all that, I didn't want to touch upon it. But because of this patch, things started to take a turn from the worst, and we saw, I guess without this sort of damage control that these cards had on undead, it was sort of left to roam freely. But now I think with these 6 card changes, I think undead has been controlled a bit more, and we may start to see new things flourish as a result of hopefully the decreasing prominence of undead usage. So first, we're just going to go straight down. I'm going to talk about the changes. Zombie. The HB has been reduced to 2. Good start. I know zombies were really, you know, the difference between cursed pirates and zombies were pretty big. Zombies, while having the lower attack, were more tanky at 3 health, and the skeletons or cursed pirates were at 2 and 2, meaning, you know, you really had to choose between survival and damage. It was sort of like, well, which one do you want to emphasize more on with undead? But now I think this one, they're going to separate the 2 undeads based on attack solely, because now, being reduced to 2, you're going to see cards like Ice Blast, Cannon Barrage. I still don't think Dragon's Fire we're going to see used to counter undead. I don't want to say Sunburst or Dagger Storm either, but definitely Ice Blast and Barrage. Those will be played more, and hopefully we'll start to see them collide a bit in the meta, and we'll really see whether or not undead's going to stay in prominence because of that reduced health. Because, of course, Ice Blast and Barrage both have the power with the 2 damage for each card. They can take out entire swarms and mobs, so, you know, will we see Ice Blast come back into prominence after it was reduced to 7? Hopefully. Shit. Hopefully, we will see more usage. Sorry about that other screen cutout. I don't know what's wrong with my laptop today. But anyway, I'm not going to let that stop me. Next, we're going on to Ship of the Damned. Now, Ship of the Damned hasn't really been a card prominently used with undead. It was sort of like, I mean, I guess you could argue that it was a good inclusion. You'd have maybe 2 ship, 3 army, something like that. But I think with this one, it's a bit more of a separation between the 2, zombie and pirates again. Because it never really made sense to me, personally, how you have army and ship both cost 2 gold, and it was really like you chose, you know, again, you just chose your path, and that was kind of that. I really felt like skeletons should have been more, should have been different in that kind of sense, because you know you have Acolyte and Sea Witch, you know, 2 gold for a unit that generates 1 zombie, 4 for a unit that generates 2 skeletons. Good differentiation there. You know, the zombie costing 0, the cursed pirate costing 1. You know, if you play those cards, God forbid you have those in your deck, but I mean, for those who do, it was sort of like a free unit versus a unit that cost, you know, and I think this right here again further differentiates them, and it's a good change to see Ship of the Damned cost more to have that little extra attack advantage. You're gonna have to pay a little extra for that, so pretty good there. Sacrificial Altar, the HP reduced to 2. Now I was hearing some great sort of suggestions for a Sacrificial Altar and how it may be changed, but I think reducing it to 2 is a good start. It's going to be taken out easily by Ice Blast, Combustion, and things that kind of are built for building removal. I think Lightning Bolt was already a good card to take out Altar before this. I guess really just the damage or the building removal that people already store in their decks can now be used for the Altar, so a good change there. And again, further reduces Undead's capability to really push early on, because usually with an Altar at 3 HP, what are you going to really do to counter that early on? You're going to have to waste a Reckless Knight's charge in order to just lunge out and kill it before it starts swarming zombies. So moving on now to the one card that I think doesn't really affect the Undead, really, and that's the Southport Captain. I do know, however, what Southport Captain will affect. Its stats change to 2/3, so that's a little buff. You're going to get an extra attack. However, you're reducing the movement and reducing the gold initiative. The gold initiative hurts, and it hurts specifically decks that were bouncing Southport. Granted, that's still an option. The initiative doesn't hurt too much, because I know what you were, people were doing was they're playing Southport, vanishing it, playing Southport again, playing Shadow Slip, all while having a Craxus in hand, so that Craxus will be lowered, and, you know, maybe even 2, God forbid 3 in your hand, and, you know, people were just popping out Craxus, and it was like, basically that got you the win, all by just bouncing this card back and forth. And again, granted, that could still happen. If you really wanted to kill Captain, then make the gold initiative the same as Troll Gunner. But having 2 cards with nearly similar gold initiative, but just different stats and movement, doesn't really emphasize the fact that one's a common while the other one is epic. So I think the gold initiative, while still favoring Craxus plays and Craxus bounce, I guess the movement kind of helps. You know, it blocks off those Southports from being a nuisance, from running up, shooting maybe something you have up there to make room for a 13 hit to the castle. But again, we'll see how really effective the Southport change was. But I think for now, that's maybe my the card I'm going to put in here as both random as hell and maybe the worst, but we'll see. Combustion now, we're moving on. It has a cost increase to 5. You could argue this one may not be as effective as some of the other ones we've seen, like the zombie, the ship, the altar. But then again, combustion has been really tied into early assault, so I think holding it back to 5 gives the player time to prepare for it, to be in control of whether or not, alright, am I going to see a combustion play now? And maybe throw off the player who does have combustion maybe just a bit, because, again, he's using combustion. You have to be very smart in playing, you know, when to play it. You know, you can really maximize it for damage. You can clear the board with it, you know, all if you use it at the right time. So now I think at 5, it's still going to play a viable role in Undead, but I think people are gonna hold off on playing this more because, you know, you're not gonna get another one for an easy 4G. It's gonna be a 5G now, so I mean, it's all dependent on how the players interpret that. I think Combustion's still a great card regardless of the cost. You know, just bumping it up by 1, it's not gonna really do too much. And finally, Ice Blast to 6. Yes, this needed to happen immediately. I felt that Ice Blast at 7 was a bit excessive. It was really just awful. But now at 6, I think you're really going to see it more than you did while it was at 7. And again, it's going to combat zombie. It's going to combat undead very well. And people, I think, should start throwing it back in there. So that was basically the April balance patch. Like I said, I'm going to get back into making more content. I've just been out with work and a cold and all that kind of stuff. Maybe you heard it during my video or this video that I still kind of have a bit of it. But anyway, regardless of that, if you guys did enjoy the video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and comment down below what you think of the April balance patch and how will it affect undead. And until next time, guys, stay gaming.